What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. My name is Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. Speaking of RPG horror stories, I still have a bunch of RPG horror stories that were submitted to me via email. I'm not just completely omitting them. I do want to actually properly cover them, and everything is just IRL has just been kicking my ass, dude. It's just been really rough. But now that I have a little bit of free time, and hopefully the month of October seems to be a little bit more open-ended, we could probably have a little bit more fun with reading some RPG horror stories and doing videos that I've always wanted to try doing, just never got around to doing. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and get some RPG horror stories for today. My friend wanted to play video games while I run D&D for him. Basically, in session 0, my friend of 5 years started screen sharing a video game on Discord, and I told him off for it because I find it rude. We then had the convo in the image. I'm green and he is red. We're really good friends and both want to play, so I'm conflicted about this. Like, actually don't do that. Also, yes, I'm gonna play video games, but you know I pay more attention to Discord than any game I'm playing, especially since I'm playing games that are boring as frick. MSC, Timberborn, SnowRunner, Star Trucker, and grinding in DayZ, because I might get back into that game. You're not gonna play games while I'm running D&D game for you. Mad disrespect, uncool. It would be different if I was playing games like of Tarkov because I get invested, but I pay attention to VC. Also, if it's my turn, I'm gonna be on my character sheet. You gotta realize, I'm used to a game where combat would take 2 months or weekly sessions to complete. If you get problems like that, I'll time the turns. I don't want to run a meat grinder. Yeah, fair. Again, I don't know what to expect, so I'll adapt crap to what's going on. I want to tell a cool story with my friends, so please don't play video while I'm running a session. Like if I find myself in interactions a lot, I'm not gonna do anything. This is a pretty short story and more of a screenshot reading rather than anything, but basically we got a situation where Green wants to play their game and also run a game, and Red is a player but chooses to play other video games and even stream themselves play other video games instead of paying attention to the story and engaging with the actual game. Which is, yeah, that's pretty rude. That could definitely be rude. I don't mind if somebody is multitasking when it comes to playing video games and stuff, because at the end of the day, you only have to pay attention to a certain amount, but whenever you're playing a TTRPG, certain key moments and certain key things can be said or told by an NPC to you. And if you're not paying attention, you'll probably miss out on it, and you'll forget about it. And you come back and be like, what are we supposed to do again? Are we supposed to go left? Are we supposed to go right? Well, the NPC did tell you to a specific way to go to in a riddle. What was the riddle again? And then you have to just regurgitate the entire thing. And it sucks whenever you have a situation where players are simply not paying attention. I luckily have players that actually are paying attention and in fact taking notes, so I'm so grateful for them. I'm so grateful for them engaging with the stuff that I'm providing. But when you're playing a TTRPG with a bunch of friends, it's probably good and probably the polite thing to do is to put stuff on the side and just pay attention. I don't mind if, let's say, somebody wants to like eat mid-game. Yeah, obviously, you know, different hours, games can last for a while. That's completely fine for this kind of multitasking. But if you pay attention to one game and you're playing another game, clearly your attention span is split. But in this screenshot, I'm not really seeing too much of a problem. In fact, I think they kind of came up to a solution together. Red is saying that they played in previous games was more of a meat grinder, but Green is saying that they don't want to do a meat grinder. They want to make sure they have a situation where players can actually get engaged with the stuff. D&D and TTRPGs are kind of a two-way street. The DM has to engage with the players, and players have to also engage with the DM. If that's not really happening, then yeah, I could see how it can get pretty boring, and some people may want to multitask and tab out occasionally. You shouldn't, because that's a rude thing, but I can see why somebody would want to tab out if, let's say, for example, there's a big meat grinder and have to wait 20 plus minutes for their turn to come back. Anyway, let's get to the next story for today. Ask 3 questions, get kicked. This is probably tame for the subreddit, and the fallout wasn't soul crushing. But we all have that one experience that seems to needle in your subconscious, and I hope this gets it out with my system. So for me, I was joining an OSR game despite my older age. I've not played 1st or 2nd edition D&D, but GM sent me a link to the rules he was using. I got to ask GM a total of 3 questions. I had questions about the spellcasting. I asked him some questions on a specific mechanic I was reading. His reply was that my questions didn't make sense and it was just normal spellcasting. I said, it's okay, I can play an archer character instead. I asked him that since he was playing from older editions, is he using older elven D&D lore, specifically being reincarnated and the trance dreams being old memories. He said no, and I was fine. No worries, I said. Since in the Discord channel there was discussion of someone else not being able to start with expected day, and wanted a week later start day. I asked 2 days before the original start day if we were still on track to start on original date, looking for confirmation. No response, just blocked. Removed from the Discord. which was a community not just for his private games. Blocked from private messages. No explanation. Found out later from a friend that he's on Discord, the GM went on a tirade about how much I was pestering him, how I wanted special treatment, that this period is a time when he is still deciding on who gets to play in his game, that he had a discussion with me privately, which he did not, and we decided it's best that I leave, unilaterally his choice. My friend, after seeing my private messages to and from the GM, decided this guy was a tool and was best to keep his distance. I know I dodged a bullet, but I really was expecting to try old school D&D. P.S. I have since filled that spot in my schedule with an excellent 5e game. Good for you. So apparently, according to this DM, 3 strikes of questions and you're out of here for asking too many questions. If you never played 1st edition or 2nd edition and you want to clear up on the rules and see what's going on and, a little clarification to make sure you understand compared to what you already know, there's nothing wrong with that. A player is genuinely interested in wanting to play a specific edition of D&D with you, wants to play your game, so they want to make sure they understand about spellcasting questions or elf questions or other questions. They want to learn so they can play better. There's nothing wrong with that. For this DM to just find this appalling to the point where 3 questions in your route is just it's ridiculous. You'll never get players like this. If you just want players that already know everything 100% of the time without any question whatsoever, you might as well just find a mind reader of some kind. Because if you don't want people asking questions, how are they supposed to know anything? Hey DM, can I short rest here? Out of the game. How dare you ask your 3rd question to me? How dare you ask questions? Hey DM, can I do an investigation check in this room to search stuff? How dare you ask me questions? How dare you question anything whatsoever? Like, the whole point of D&D is asking DM questions. Hey DM, can I do this? Hey DM, can I do that? Hey DM, is this blank? The whole point of playing TTRPGs is communication from the DM to the player and from player to the DM. And if this DM can't handle simple questions for clarification, then I don't know, man. Maybe talking to people must be so exhausting for this DM. Maybe, I don't know. And to also be such a dickbag and to lie to other people, say, oh, we had a whole conversation and you wanted to be super extra special and we agreed mutually that it would be best for him to leave. What a lying sack of shit. Absolutely terrible person to deal with. Listen guys, if you ever play in my games or you play stuff with me, you're free to ask me as many questions as you want, no matter how silly the questions are. I have a lot of new players that are playing in my game and they ask, a lot of questions. Some of them can be a little bit silly, some of them can be a little outlandish, but like if you want to ask me if you can build a mech in our D&D universe, in our game, then I mean, yeah, I'll answer your questions. It'll probably, not be the answer you're specifically looking for, but I mean, yeah, I'll answer any questions, no matter what they are, because that's what the DM is supposed to do. They're supposed to be answering questions from the players. Communication is like the most important part of playing TTRPGs. If you can't have communication, or if you limit communication to a 3-strike system on questions, then you might as well not even play. You might as well go play a video game. We can Wikipedia your answers anytime. This DM sucks. You dodged a bullet. I'm glad you're playing a fun 5e game. Let's go ahead and get to the next question story. Let's get to the next story for today. GM makes unwinnable finale. Cries when players don't like it. So this is from a campaign I did over a year ago. I thought it'd be a good story to share here. I was invited to play in a tabletop campaign by an old college friend with friends of his. I'm typically stuck as a forever DM, so I was down to be a player for once. The setting was low fantasy Game of Thrones vibes. The system was just the GM rolling a d6 when he felt it was needed and would be roleplay heavy. I'm a theater kid, so roleplay heavy doesn't bother me, but I did express concerns early on that the lack of tangible rules made it a bit uncomfortable, since he often reminded me death is a real possibility. He told me I needed to trust him, and if I wasn't stupid, quote unquote, I'd be fine. Massive red flag in hindsight, but I really just wanted to be a player for once, and he was a friend of a friend, so it couldn't be that bad, or so I thought. Whenever DMs set up a precedence of you can survive as long as you're not stupid or else you will just die a stupid death, what is the level of stupid are we looking for? Because I mean, I've seen some I've interacted with some DMs that have the logic leap of an adventure point and click. You ever play an adventure point and click where they have like insane logic leaps of what you're supposed to do? I felt that in the DM, a DM literally was just as confusing and just as asinine as a point-and-click adventure game. And it was really difficult to decide on what is the logical thing to do, because what seemed logical to me apparently was stupid and I got punished for it. But having a grounded rules to follow probably would be best to instill a little bit more confidence about the general mechanics of what you can and can't do. Rules-light systems can exist, and if you want to run your own rules-light system, if your party and players are perfectly fine with it, do whatever you want. But I personally prefer a little bit more rules and mechanics to follow, so at least I understand how it's supposed to go. Either way, let's continue. Fast forward to the finale. I'm playing a nerdy lore bar. My college buddy is a swashbuckling rogue, and the other player is a fighter mercenary. The big bad was a cult leader that had kidnapped some common folk, one of which was my character's childhood best friend, who went into the dark forest. Mercenaries Legion had agreed to help us fight the big bad, so we had about 8 or so extra mercenaries. The day our characters planned to pursue the big bad, Rogue had drank a lot night prior, and the GM rolls a d6 privately and tells Rogue oversleeps and misses our departure. When we ask if he can go wake him up, GM says, "You don't notice he is not there." Yeah, of course, GM. I'll just not notice my party member. My party member is not there. I rolled a -2, not even a -1, but a -2 on my perception. And I didn't realize the rogue wasn't there in the party. Such a stupid logic leap, I swear. See, this is what I mean. This like has some adventure point-and-click logic leaps. It doesn't make sense. Mercenary and I go with a squad of 8 other mercenaries into the dark forest. Shortly after, the big bad's grunts start stealthily taking out the whole squad of mercenaries without any formal combat. Just single rolls and we're told they're dead, leaving only myself and mercenary to face the big bad. Meanwhile, Rogue has woken up and he is desperately trying to get someone to give him transportation to our location. Rogue makes some progress with some sailors, but they eventually decline him as well. Later on, GM would tell Rogue they declined him because they didn't like his tone. Mercer and I finally get to the clearing where the big bad has the common folks. GM describes the commoners as tied around a big tree. The big bad had 30 followers there on guard. Mercenary and I feel like there's no way we can take him head on, so Mercenary steps out from the bushes and tries to negotiate with the big bad since him and Mercenary were raised in the same culture. Mercenary gives a great speech in my opinion, saying this isn't what their ancestors would want, and if he does this, then the other nations will declare war on our people. I'm thinking this is great. You should have at least a great role to persuade the big bad. But no, GM says the big bad is too fanatic and proceeds to light the tree on fire, killing all the commoners, and the GM makes sure to describe in detail how my childhood friend burned alive. So Mercer and I just flee, not knowing what else to do, and that ends the campaign. That's it? That's it? That's it? He's too fanatic to be convinced, and you already lose. Alright, well, I guess that's everything I could try. Thought maybe this could be a cool character moment. No, they die anyway. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like most games out there don't even consider the fact that persuading and appealing to someone's reason, appealing to someone's morality, is a kind of a neat approach to dealing with a BBG. Obviously, you can slay the big bad guy. You can just fight the big bad and defeat him and try to, take him down. But trying to appeal to the reason, at least maybe to distract him, or trying to convince him to, delay just for a little bit. That's something that's not really considered. And I find it so cool that a player made a whole speech, thought about how connecting the BBG to their own character and where they come from and their religion and culture and stuff. How, as a DM, do you not just want to reward that? If my player did that, yeah, I want to reward them in some way, in some capacity, at least do a roll to see what would happen. Maybe there was a hidden answer choice of what the players should have done that the players just didn't know about, and the DM is just screwing them over. I don't know. There's more to this story, so let's see how it ends. It's roughly 2 AM at this point. Rogue has fallen asleep, and the table is relatively silent. The GM starts freaking out a bit and asking why we're not discussing the finale more. I just say that it's late and the ending was a bit of a downer. GM starts saying that I can't have everything my way, and my character needed their childhood best friend to die for this story to have consequences. Mercury then asks if there was a way that we would have been able to save everyone. GM goes off the deep end, calling himself a failure who can't do anything right, and starts crying. After a minute, he grabs all his stuff and leaves. I haven't played with the group since. My college buddy did reach out and ask if I wanted to be in a follow-up Season 3 campaign. I politely declined. Edit, I commented this, but I also wanted to add the NOP. When Rogue was left behind, Mercenary and I both objected. The DM said we needed to trust him. I, at least, took that as a meaning the DM and Rogue had a plan for a cool moment later on. They did not. To trust the DM. I have so many words and I have so many conniptions just from reading that last bit. Trust me, guys. Trust me. I got it all covered. No, you don't. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know half the thing that you're doing or half the thing you're planning. If you want your players to trust you as a DM, you need to also trust your players. And sometimes their judgment may be better than yours. Why would you, first of all, want to split the party by leaving Rogue behind and forcing everybody to just be like, oh, you didn't notice Rogue not being there? What a stupid crock of crap. When the Rogue does finally try to arrive and meet up with the party, they are halted because they didn't like your tone. The sailors did not like your tone. All right? So I guess Rogue can't participate and they're stuck just waiting, I suppose. And the group that did try to confront the BBEG, their mercenary gang, started being taken out without barely a roll, just instantly killed. So they had no more forces. And it was just the mercenary and the bard trying to confront the BBEG. And obviously they're outnumbered with like 30-something guards. Clearly they can't fight themselves. You wanted your players to trust you in your big plan, your big game, but trust is not broken because all they got was a really crap ending that you yourself as a DM influenced. Listen, I know I sound a little bit heated, but I feel like this is one of those DMs that doesn't know what they're doing. They think they have a big grand plan, but the big grand plan don't work out because they expect players to do something specific. You can't expect your players to do something specific. You gotta improv on the way through and give players opportunity to try to change the world around. If you don't, then you just get a sour ending and everybody just leaves the table completely upset about this whole thing because no players wanted that. The players didn't want to deal with this situation, this nonsense. They wanted to actually have a moment where they try to, I don't know, change the world a little bit or save the world, at least save the villagers that were tied to a tree. But they couldn't even do that, even though they tried their very best. It's not even funny, it's just sad and tragic. Players trusted you and you gave them a crap ending with no way to turn it around. Maybe they had some fun at some point, but this ending with splitting the party and giving no other option other than what do they expect to do? Fight and die from like 30 other dudes? I don't know what the DM wanted. Clearly the DM had no clue what they're doing whatsoever for this game. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.